Friends, how are you doing? Take a sip of coffee here. That's good. All right, let's talk about Big Bear, BBAI, ticker for that. So I think a lot of us, I don't think I'm alone here, but a lot of us think that we are watching the second phase, second run here of Big Bear. Okay, now I think that's pretty safe to say at this point. Now, the aroma right now, got a stuttering problem here. The aroma right now with Big Bear is changing, okay? So the lawsuit situation, it's getting, we're almost done. The dust is settling. They're trying to get any and everybody to sue right now. Big Bear, if they just made you cry, you can sue over at this point. So that lawsuit situation with Big Bear is coming to an end here. It's wrapping it up. Now we're starting to see the flavor kind of change here. The aroma, you're starting to see articles more like, hey, Big Bear, have you seen this penny stock? Have you seen this new AI stock, cheap? And they go on to say good things, bad, and then of course they bring some negative stuff, which should be addressed 100%. Stuff that I've addressed a lot too. But there is, I think there's a clear argument to say that Big Bear is probably in the best situation that it's ever been in right now, when it comes to deals, having attention from, the stock market, and, has potential to maybe, do some good here in the next 2-3 years, especially in this Trump administration. I'm going to be honest with you with what's going on right now. So let's dig into that. Let's talk about that, and let's talk about how much money we're going to make this week with Big Bear. Okay, so here's a candlestick chart. Let's kind of chop this up. Let's look at this together. And listen, I do think that stocks are creatures of habit of what they've done, what other stocks have done, and you can kind of put patterns to things that have happened and are forming right before you. So when you look at this candlestick chart here, going back into, we're going to slice it down to November 2024 here, this run number one. Run one here in the blue here, written in white, for Big Bear. Now, that right there was the first big indication something is going on here with Big Bear. Now, in that right now, we were coming out of November of 2024. Big Bear had just signed that big defense deal right under $200 million. For 3.5 years, I believe it was, but a big deal here, and that's what first got my attention, maybe some other people's attention here listening, and and it started to get the gears turning here with Big Bear. And then they got another deal in December. Okay, so things are starting to roll here. Now we're going into January, and things are really rolling. Now we're in like a $3-4 position with Big Bear. A lot of us were buying Big Bear at right over $2 or below $2. So we were talking about some heavy profit zone already with a lot of this, and Big Bear captured another deal. So now we find ourselves, between this January and at the end of February kind of position here. And Big Bear, well, almost at the end of February, but, we found ourselves in that time zone here, with the market doing very good, Big Bear doing very good with deals, getting a lot of attention. And Big Bear was having these huge, lifts, sales, lift, sales, lift, sales. It was about 3 big humps in there, 4 really, but with that, it was a great place with Big Bear. So that was about a 3-4 month, really we'll say 3 month situation, like a 90-day situation that took place to get Big Bear to do this huge spin up to this $10 position, 10 and some change. So February comes, we have that huge walk up into right under $11. Okay, a lot of people take profit, a lot of people make a lot of money. Great, wham, everyone is happy. Okay. Unless you were buying Big Bear at $10, which even at that time I was like, do not buy Big Bear at $10 right now. This is very dangerous. Now, we at that moment of sell here from $10 all the way back down to, 2 middle ground position, we had the DeepSeek situation happen to the market, the tariff situation happened to the market multiple times, and the big hit of it. And now we know January, February, March, April. Coming out of April here, going into March, we start to find ourselves ticking back up, chiseling away some new position here, old new position here in Big Bear. Now, looking at run 2 that has developed here, the purple, Big Bear, last week, Big Bear was chipping away at $3. We were watching it happen right before us. We, open high, have a great day. we would end at an all new high level within a 48-hour spin there with a 2-day, trading situation. And we ended the week really good last week. Now, this week that we had here, this last week of May, it was a phenomenal week with Big Bear once again. And we the last 2 weeks, we've really seen the market kind of struggle here, especially last week. And, well, I say last week, but I guess I should say 2 weeks ago. But this week, last week, however you want to say it here, Big Bear still did good. And we held pretty much $4 all week. It was, we almost made it to like a 460 zone, but still, nonetheless, we had a really good week here. And I believe we could have actually gone higher with Big Bear if the market would have supported it. But, we kept having these turbulent moments in the market last week that just wasn't allowing anything to really run here. So I don't believe, and why I have this second white line here right above $7, I don't know that this run is going to be as intense, the volcano of this blast off with this second run that we're developed in right now. I think that Big Bear could easily make it to $5. Okay. Now, I think organically Big Bear, depending on just the movement and the volume that is increasing in it right now that we're watching. I mean, it's happening right before us. It's you don't have to be a seasoned stock trader to really watch what's happening here. You can see plain as day there is a shelf being built here. Obviously the question is, Big Bear here, I'm pretty sure we'll find $5 organically, but in that there could come a moment like what happened here in February where Big Bear just finds a moment of, let's hit 6th gear here, and we could make it to $6 to $7. Now, if you look at, back in December to February, that run one there, that took a while, but those were much sharper pushes in Big Bear. There was a lot more volume, a lot more money involved at that moment. This run two that we have found ourselves in here since March, March, April, really March, it's been slower, but to me, it's been healthier. This has been a lot more of, really building a strong shelf here with Big Bear. And that's why, we haven't had these sharp dips here in Big Bear where people have like panic sold. We've had strong push up, little bitty sell, strong push up, little bitty sell, but we're chipping away here where we're just strolling along here up the hill. So to me, this is a lot stronger shelf being built here that could easily move up into a $6 to $7 range here. I feel pretty safe with my own money in Big Bear saying that right now. So when this big shelf is going to happen into $6 to $7 range, I don't exactly know at this point, but it could count on a few different things. Big Bear, Big Bear any day could just have a new deal. Something could happen where they just come out with another deal. Okay, we're right in that time span where maybe something's due here. Second of all, this lawsuit situation is wrapping up here, so the best thing that could happen with that is it just doesn't get talked about anymore, and it makes that not be there. Okay. And third of all is that, Big Bear will just continue to chip away at $4 here, get into a $5 position. Listen, I am well aware that Big Bear is, it is undervalued. That is obviously, that is a strong, thing that we can all say there. But there are negatives with Big Bear too. Big Bear has debt. Big investors, they don't like debt. Big Bear needs more deals. They need more money coming in. And two, I think there's obviously, if you haven't heard me talk about Big Bear, if you have heard me talk about Big Bear, you're like, oh God, here he goes. I think one of the biggest things right now with Big Bear, it's such a wild card. It's almost a lottery ticket at this point, okay? Because you had this situation, this huge situation developing over here with defense, with the Trump administration, who is spending bukus among bukus of money on defense. They're making money, they're printing money, they're looking to spend money. And I just talked about this last night. Palantir is now, Jesus Christ. Palantir, I mean, I'm not even going back into that. I mean, Palantir's, God almighty. But Big Bear, Big Bear already has defense contracts, okay? So Big Bear already working with the administration that is spending a lot of money on defense. I don't think it would be crazy to say that, hey, they might just pick up another deal, but they might pick up a big deal here. Listen, if Big Bear were to even get a slice of the pie with the whole Golden Dome deal, even things that tentacle off of that situation, Big Bear could eat. What if they got a $300 million contract, $400 million? What if they got a $500 million contract, $500 million contract, even if it's spread over 3 years? That would change everything. It would change everything. Big Bear would easily run to an $8 to $10 position, and it would hold that 7, 8 on a bad day. Because what would it tell? Well, everything that we've already had up until now, it would just pay for the debt. It would pay for everything that Big Bear has problem-wise. Now Big Bear has this huge, ginormous, deal with the government, and now we are talking about a real Palantir situation happening. So, and this is I'm saying this because I get this comment every hour on the hour with. On my channel here about Palantir and Big Bear. A little history lesson. If you don't know, you should know. Two and a half years ago, when Palantir was sitting at around a $7, $10 stock on a good day. I remember when Palantir would be $10 back in the day, and we'd be like, "Oh my God, I went to $10." That was a big deal back then. But then we knew Palantir was highly undervalued. But Palantir was getting these government contracts, and they were just kind of piling up, but they were still hitting quarterlies. So that kept happening. But then, off of that, Palantir started to get other deals. They started to get other companies that are like, hey, we heard you got government contracts. We want to work with you. So we saw a lot of that start to develop. Alex Karp has talked about this multiple times in interviews. So this is kind of what we want, and we're hoping the fairy tale story of what could happen here with Big Bear. That's why so much attention is on Big Bear right now, because people that missed Palantir back, 2.5 years ago, they're like, I'm not going to do that again. That's why I'm looking at Big Bear here, because there's very strong similarities of what happened with Palantir 2.5 years ago is happening very close to what is going on with Big Bear. So, friends, listen, I am not telling you to buy Big Bear at all, but and I'm not even saying that Big Bear and Palantir are the same situation. Palantir was in a lot better situation than what Big Bear is in. 2.5 years ago, Palantir was hitting quarterlies. They had a lot more money on hand. They had money in the bank. They were getting bigger deals than what Big Bear is getting at this moment. But like I said, there are similarities. There's same colors of the same shade here. What's going on? But Big Bear, I think there is a strong argument that they could find themselves in another big government contract with what's going on with defense. So we have to look at that and we go, Big Bear is an AI stock, obviously, but there is a strong argument too that, Big Bear is getting most of its money, if not all of its money, a strong suit of it, like 80% maybe, could be an argument by the end of the year here, from defense, from the government. So I don't want to call it a defense company by any means, but there is a situation where it could be put in that bubble and it could continue to feed out of that bubble. Big Bear getting these defense contracts or just contracts with the government that have something to do with defense. So it's a win-win if Big Bear can keep achieving this. I think to me, run one here that happened here with Big Bear when we had this nice, run from December to February, when it really hit in February, that was a panic run. That was like everyone was feasting on it. The market was going crazy, and just everything aligned. Now, run two here that I think we're in, I think this is more of an organic run. I think this is more of a people are building position in Big Bear. People are buying and shoving away the stocks, shoving the stock away, the shares of it, for, later on for what could happen. And there's obviously still people here buying, selling, trading, because Big Bear is it is offering investors right now such a great multitude of positions to buy low, sell high, buy low, sell high, and repeat that process from a Monday through a Friday position. It's got so much meat on the bone to where you're able just to get in, get out, get in, get out with profit. So when Big Bear sells off, it's not scaring me, because to me right now it's in a very healthy position. It's got attention from investors. Investors are excited about it. It's doing well with quarterlies. The last quarterly, for the person that's going to want to argue, yes, they missed quarterlies. I get that, but it was a very close miss, and it was better than Q1 of 2024. Lot better, which indicates that yes, they are making more money this year. So Q2, with all these new deals that are now aligning, they could possibly beat Q2 here coming up here later on, which would be great. Now, I don't think they're going to blow it out of the water, because we have not seen any kind of deal like that come through. But friends, to me, Big Bear right now is not a stock that, from the evidence that we can look at right now, no, it is not going to make you a multimillionaire this year. But what it is doing is that it is doing better. It is enabling investors to start building positions in it, to start learning about the stock, how the stock moves, the company, where the company is going. Listen, we've got 4 years left of the administration with Trump. And I can tell you right now, Trump is spending money on defense. He did this in 2016 when he won. He's doing it again now. Now, whether you're okay with that, not okay with that, that's you. I'm not trying to talk political at all whatsoever. But what I am saying for you as an investor, listen, if red apples are a hot commodity that everyone's wanting, and I'm an apple seller, what do you think I'm going to be selling? I'm going to sell the I'm going to be buying the red apples and selling the red apples, okay? That's probably a terrible analogy, but what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to focus on companies that, A of all, are defense companies, B of all, are somewhat involved in defense. These AI companies that are heavily Palantir, Big Bear, that are involved in the Trump administration, have connection with the Trump administration, are working with the United States government with defense. And Big Bear is still a very cheap stock, where I think everyone can afford a couple of shares of Big Bear, or a lot of shares of Big Bear, to where you're able to buy, sell, or just store it away. And you're like, I'm just going to hold this for the next few years. I'm okay with that. And whatever happens, happens. So friends, listen, I'm excited. I really am. I'm excited about Big Bear. Big Bear is doing much better than I thought it was going to be doing back in November of 2024. Listen, the only thing we were going off of in November, when they first got that big contract, it was just that. So, in my head at that point, I was like, okay, if Big Bear can remain around a $2.50, $3 stock price and keep that into going into the new year, and we can start to see them start to do better in quarterlies, I'll be happy about that. But since then, we've had a lot more deals. We've had great runs in it. There's a lot of enthusiasm with the stock, and it's getting a lot of attention. Okay, so I think the earlier that people get in, the more they're gonna have here. That's gonna do better for them. So, friends, look, I want to wish all of you the best of luck with this. I want to see everyone do well in this market and make a lot of money. I think we're going to make a lot of money with Big Bear, a lot more money. I know a lot of you have already made a lot of money with Big Bear, but I'm here to tell you, if you were with me on run one back a few months ago, I got the goosebumps, man. If you were with me on run one here back a few months ago, I had a feeling back then. Okay? And I've got that same feeling again here with Big Bear, to where I'm like, I think something's a brewing here. I think something's brewing. So like I said, if it sells off, don't panic, okay? Because look at run one. There was some massive sales in there. There was like, there was massive sales in there where I was like, oh my God, we were taking some damage, but look what happened. Friends, once again, I thank you so much for listening to me talk, and I'm excited. Let's all do this together. We all need, have hope in the process. Have hope in the process. Friends, I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.